What's going on? It's Djemini. Welcome to the 5225 podcast. I'm here with the first producer of the year, my man, Cortez.
Yo.
Super excited to talk about what's coming up this year, the 4 records that we have to kick off this project. 13 producers, 52 songs throughout the year. It's a pretty crazy thing. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't have done it without Jay and being able to kick it off. And so I think I'll flip it over to you to get started of like talking about how we first met and started working together and what that vibe was like once we first locked in.
Yeah, I think we met, I don't remember what month it was exactly, but I just remember was it June?
Yeah.
June, yeah. So it was one of Briggsy's sessions. Shout out to them. They do like a very good job of like curating a space for collaboration. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember I showed up. I don't know, you were coming from some kind of shoot because you had like a tux on and it was just like you you and our boy Nick sitting in there, and I walked in and I was like, oh, who this? And y'all were just talking, and I thought that was just how you dress. I was like, oh, cool, like he's spazzing now, I guess. And then you were like, oh, I'm Djemini, and that was the night we first met. And then I think, I mean, you said this multiple times, but it was just kind of like instant. We just started writing because at the time we were writing for Briggs and, the records that he's working on. And it was like, I started humming melodies and then you started humming melodies and then we started saying lyrics and then it was just like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, yeah, we're going to log in. And then on top of that, you started playing the guitar and I was like, oh, say what? So I was like, this is my guy. Like he was dangerous on the strings. So I was like, we got to definitely link. And then, I mean, from there, the rest is history. I think we linked up the first time and made a hit.
It was not long after. I think it was like literally a week after. I want to say a week or two after, because it was all in June. We made the first couple songs.
Yeah, because I think the night that we met, we walked out of that and we scheduled it that night. We were like, before we left, we were like, hey, when are you free next week? Like,
man. No, we knew just off the way we wrote together because of how fast that. Yeah. Even though we didn't end up revisiting that song we were working on, like we finished writing the entire song together in like, I don't know, 30 minutes there. Right. And then we started working on other records, and you got to see the guitar playing and stuff, and you're like, oh, we could do something really dope. And that's when we went and made Makin Love, which is, we'll go into the second track. But after, like, throughout making a bunch of records through this summer, it was after Nick and I made Lay It Down. Yeah. And then I played you that record. And you were just like, whoa, this is like a sound that's, that like I can see more of the direction of where you want to go. And
because I think when we first started creating, it was really us combining our sounds. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is your sound. It was like, this is what we can make together. Yeah. And then, when you played that record for me, I was like, oh, this is you. Like this is your pocket. You know what I mean? And so like, I think that song really allowed me to kind of like see you as an artist without me in the picture. Mm-hmm. So it kind of led me where to go, because I was like, okay, cool, like this is where he's going, and so let me kind of help him do that. And then we made the I'd probably say it's probably my favorite one of them. Yeah. But I think other than that one, it's probably Makin Love, which is our first record that we made together. Like, I think there's something special about that one. Right. And it has like the vocal sample on it is probably like my favorite vocal sample I've ever made.
Dude, no, I remember that too. And we'll get back to Athena in a sec, but to talk about the vocal sample, like, I mean, it was like you were scrolling through a bunch of samples and you got to that one. I was like, that one. Yeah. It was instant. As soon as I heard that vocal sample, I was like, that's what we need. And it just inspired me. And we wrote, man, I remember it so vividly too, because it was our first session. It was like 5. I showed up at like 5, and I think we bounced the first draft of it at like 7 something. Yeah. So I mean, like under 2 hours, full from just finding the sample, building everything on it, and writing the entire record, cutting vocals and stacks in 2 hours or whatever it was. Yeah. From there, I was like, oh no, me and Jay about to cook this summer.
Yeah, but I love when it happens like that. I think it's truly fun when it happens like that, because it's like, it's not forced. It's natural and it's just happening. And I think even Athena, when we were outside, on a smoke break, and I smoke, he don't smoke.
Just to clarify.
I don't want moms calling you like, what are you talking about? But so we were outside and you played that record for me, and I think when we went upstairs, like we didn't even say anything.
Nah, bro.
I think I literally sat down and what was it? The drums first?
It was the you first started playing the bass line, but it was like the low bass.
Oh yeah.
The boom, boom, boom,
Doom, doom, doom. Yeah, I started playing that, and then like, again, it was just one of those records where it was just like boom, 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 one thing after another, and it was like before we knew it, we stood up and we were like, oh shit, like we got something. Like,
yeah. And now that was another one that was really fast too, but we split up in 2 days.
yeah.
Because we both had to call it early that night, so it was like and I have it in the footage too. Where you're like, what are you doing tomorrow?
It literally.
And I was like, I actually had a shoot that got canceled, so I'm
Bro, that's how you know when something is special.
Yeah.
Because it's very rare that I'm like, hey, let's do 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so like the fact that I was like, what are you doing tomorrow? Like,
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, yeah,
Right.
this needs to get finished. Like, we need to see this all the way through.
right.
And I'm glad we did.
Me too, man. Me too. And it was fun. Like all the other songs we kind of co-wrote in just like in the vibe, you know, we're working on things and melodies just come to us. That's what we do. I think that's the really beautiful part about both of us being artists and both of us being singers is like we understand these different melody pockets that we can get into and like what complements, you know, one another. And so being able to do that in the other 3 sessions was really great. But for this one, we had already started like humming melodies and other things throughout, making the beat of Athena, just having so much fun with it.
Yeah.
Then I went home that night and I wrote the whole song like before bed. And then by the time I came over the next day, I was like, yeah, bro, I'm ready.
Yeah, I think that was one of those sessions where I was like, oh, you have the next verse already? And you were like, yeah, bro, I have the whole thing. And I was like, oh, damn, okay, let's go. Like, let's cut it.
Yeah, and to your point too, it's like, that's, I think how you know it's one of the ones because of how quickly I was able to go and write it. It was just because I loved it. I loved the vibe and it just came so naturally and I was able to kind of just like, you know, talk that talk on this record and have fun with it. Like not, you know, take anything too seriously or be like too, you know, like it's just kind of why we also decided this would be the first one is the narrative arc of it goes from like meeting somebody and being interested to them to all the way to little things of being like this very like romantic record. You know, it's like it's like a wholesome thing to end. And so it has this arc of like meeting somebody, you know, making love and the physical attraction, like kind of being at the forefront. Leavin With Me is like a lot more of that intimate connection that is in there, like kind of more like, you know, spicy in that way. And then Little Things is very much like, I love, you know, all these little things that you do and that we are together. So yeah, man, like laying down the vocals for that. I know it was something that we were like, oh, I felt like, oh, maybe we should do it a different way or that. But the more we sat with the record, we were like, nah. And once it got like mixing right, it felt great.
Yeah, because I think at first too, you were like, yeah, I wanna retrack it standing up.
Yeah.
Because at my studio, you know, you're on a chair and then, you know, which like I totally understand because like I know some people are like that. Some people are like, I have to be standing up to record. And I think even there's sometimes too where I'm like, I gotta stand up to get a certain note or to get a certain tone. You know? And it's like, but yeah, I think the more we sat with it, it was like, cause like, yeah, when you left that day, I think you were saying that and I didn't really hear it because I was just like, oh, this sounds dope to me, but I was still lost in like the awe of it and like, and then, you know, but then like the more I listened to it, I kind of understood what you said, but I'm kind of glad that we stuck with it.
Me too.
Because I think it's the way it needs to be.
It's one of those things too of like, you know, sometimes that first take is the one that feels great. And like we that's what we did. I mean, we really locked in. And once we had the initial vibe, especially once we started stacking things, that's when it started to come to life. All the little, that like carries everything and allows the different vocal sections to kind of blend together and to become this really cohesive song. The one thing though that we didn't do in that session was the dance break and then bringing the chorus back. That we did later, which I think was this really great addition because the song without that is like 2 minutes or less. And so then adding that, it made it feel full. It brought that first hook back. And then with the little dance break, Jay, we did that here. And he was just like, he looked at me and I had a whole third verse written. I was planning after we did the first two, I was like, cool. Months later, we did this, or like a month later, whatever. And I had the third verse locked and loaded, but I'm like, am I gonna be just saying a lot of words? And he was just like, bro, who's doing dance breaks anymore?
Literally, I was like, bro, I haven't heard a dance break in so long.
And so, yeah, we kind of were just like, why not? And back and forth again, like we just started humming melodies like for what that could be. And then it just worked so nicely, getting into that pocket together. And then that, I feel like, really tied the record together. And I know when, like, and we have footage of this too, I know when, like, we're recording something and it just makes you do the, I'm like, I know he cooked.
I definitely have those reactions that like people look for.
Yeah.
I think Briggs says the same thing. He's like, I always look for a certain like movement or facial expression by you, and that's how I know you're like really down with it.
Exactly. And I've picked up on that as well, just through so much work that we've done. It's like, I know something's like, I got something if it gets a certain reaction from you. And it's cool to have seen all of these different records do that. I mean, I guess to continue through, we talked a little bit about Makin Love, but is there anything else in that track that you wanted to touch on? I mean, obviously it's like the vocal sample, the guitar, and then just some great drums. But
I think out of the, the group, it's probably my favorite drums.
Yeah.
On it. But I mean, I'm a sucker for the early 2000s. Like, that's just my bag. And
exactly.
So it's like
guy right here.
So it's like, I think that, especially that drum pattern, that doom, doom, like that's just such like a common, kind of like very bouncy pattern that's used in that era. I've heard it multiple times, but it's like everyone somehow does it different than the other one, you know what I mean? But it's just like they're all the same. If you listen to the kick, it's the same pattern. But it's just such like it just gets you moving. So I think that's why I really love those drums.
No, man, me too. That was a record too, that it being our first one, that was so special, because like that honestly is one of the first moments where I started to think of a project as ambitious as 5225, because I walked away from, in 2 hours and some change, we went from nothing to what could be like mostly a full song. And so I was just like, whoa, okay, this is a guy who I can write well with, and who is an insane producer, and who also like is quick. And so it was like, oh, if I can get in that zone with multiple people and like bring different ideas to the table, then I have the confidence that I can do this at scale and more people. And then I met so many people through you and Nick and Briggs that it just kind of opened the door for that, and that record was one that'll always stick with me for that reason. Not only sonically do I love it, but it was like that eye-opening moment. Just that drive home, I was like, whoa.
Right. No, dude, and I thank you for allowing me to like play those parts in that music, because like that's just what I love to do. I mean, when we first met, I think you came around like at the point where I was like debating whether I wanted to be an artist first and a songwriter second, or a songwriter first and an artist second. And ultimately, I leaned to the songwriting side and the production side, and really kind of putting the things together and connecting all the puzzle pieces, because that's what I love to do. You know what I mean? Like I've shared with you multiple times how I have no desire to be in front of a camera, no desire to be, forward facing and in front of a crowd of people. Like I love being behind the scenes and then helping the person that actually wants that, like do it the best that they can. And so like, and I feel like you've allowed me to do that with you. And like, as we've made these records, like, thank you for trusting me. Absolutely. And I'm excited for the world to hear, and I'm excited for people to hear you in this pocket, because I feel like it's not necessarily a pocket you've been in before.
No.
And so I'm excited to see what people say, because you just never know. You never know how people are gonna react, and like, I mean, it happened to me when I remember. Funny stories. I didn't want to really do the 2000 sound. Like,
oh, I think you did tell me that.
I like my music before it was like very dark R&B, like party next door vibes. And I ended up just posting a snippet of early 2000s because everybody was doing it. I was like seeing it everywhere, and I was like, let me try something. Like, and then it went crazy, and I was like, damn. Like, well, and so I feel like that could be the case. With this, it's like people hear it and then we're like, damn, we got to do another one. Like, like.
No, I mean, and that's what I think so beautiful about these four that we've put together, is that all of them have warranted different responses from the people that I've played them for. And that's a beautiful segue into Leavin With Me, because like that one is one that I played for like some of the homies, and they're like, yeah, this is cool, bro, this is a good track.
Yeah.
But anytime I played it for any female I know, they all have like a reaction of like, whoa, this is like one of my favorite songs of yours. Like, I didn't know that you could do this like vocally. And it was just one of those records that it like, I think it was another one that you just started with drums, and I just had the electric, and I was just kind of like just plucking along with it, and you were like, yeah, that.
Yeah.
And then I just started playing. The verses came super naturally, and then it like same with the hook. But then it was really that post hook that you like. I remember, bro, like you went to the bathroom, and like by the time you came back, I had that whole post hook written. Yeah. And you were like, okay, that's what you're on, bro.
I said, all right, cool, let's go. Like, keep moving.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing, like you just said, like, you know, starting with the drums first. Like, I rarely do that. Like, usually I start with, you know, the instruments and or the samples and things like that, and then I go to the drums. But like for that record, it was kind of a different approach, because we did start with drums, and I created that drum loop, and then it was like you did your thing. Like, I was like, okay, I did my part, now do your thing, you know. And you were like, cool, like, look, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, and it was another example of how well we kind of work together, and how our workflow is very efficient. Right. Like, because it's like I can focus on the things that I'm strong at, you can focus on the things that you're strong at, and together we just like make this crazy records, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, man, those are like the best sessions and the best people to work with, you know. And and when you genuinely, it's like, hey, like, you know, iron sharpens iron, and like literally it's like that anytime we're in the session together, because it's like we both got skill sets that elevate each other, you know. And so like yeah, bro. Like I said, I love these records. I think they're special. Leavin With Me, it's a ladies record. You know what I mean? And it's like, I kind of knew when we were creating it that it was gonna be the ladies record, because it's like, I think there's just those records that you can tell just by the vibes and like and whatnot. Like Athena, someone like Athena, I knew it was like, it's universal. Everyone's gonna love this record, you know what I mean? But it's like when we did Leavin With Me, I was like, oh, it's for the ladies, you know what I mean? Like, cause that's the one too, right? Where you go like in kind of that rapping. The second you did that too, I was like, that post hook, bro, the ladies gonna be on you with this one, like, you know what I mean? Like, man. That post hook was crazy. Cause I think you were a little like, you were a little iffy about it. I could tell when you first did it.
Because I've never said anything like that.
Right. You were a little like, but I was like, nah, bro, it has to. It has to be it. Because you know, it just kept the song moving so well.
Well, and that's the thing that I appreciate about our dynamic as well, is that it, like you were saying, we bring different skills to the forefront, and like you've been able to be in more of that kind of like sexy R&B bag for a lot of songs that you've made, and you've written, you know, records for other people that are in that realm. And it's just stuff that I hadn't said on record before. So I felt a little uncomfortable with that. But when you heard it and you were like, that's it, go, then I was like, okay, cool. And I, you know, when you just were like, oh, let's do it again after the next hook, like the same thing, don't change it. That was what I was at first. I was like, I don't know, I kind of want to write something different. You were like, no, but like look at it as a post hook that kind of gives the song the structure and keeps it moving, keeps it dynamic.
I think I called it like, I called it in the session the breath of air. Because it very much is. It's like the song's moving, and then it just kind of stillness. But you're still like whispering in their ear. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I think that's what's really dope about it. And I think it fit perfectly into the structure. Yeah,
man. And I think the other cool thing on like a technical or musical level was the melody for the chorus came from the little guitar. Yeah, exactly. That was we hadn't even written anything yet, and we were just building the beat out.
Yeah, because I think you were playing it. And I started humming the. And you were like, "Ooh, I like that." You know, and so like,
and then once we had it down, it was just so natural. And then that was another thing that just wrote like that, and then being able to go from that into the post hook was the most natural thing. And there's the record itself isn't like this, you know, crazy structure. It's like really verse, chorus, post, chorus, verse, chorus, post.
Right.
But like that's a record like that too. Like that's all it needs, and it gives you that feeling. It gives you that emotion. It is giving some of my friends who I've played that for. They're like, oh, I had to run that back.
Yeah.
Because like I wasn't expecting that from you. And so yeah, man, I appreciate like, yeah, just, you know, like you were saying the trust that I have in you, which is like very, you know, like very high and very sincere, because I think you brought different things out of me that have helped me to kind of not only like trust the people I'm collaborating in or collaborating with more, but also to trust myself more.
Yeah.
Like trust my natural instincts as a musician, as a guitar player, as a singer.
Yeah.
And yeah, seeing the way that you work and seeing the way you work with others allowed me to like step back and in our sessions be like, oh, okay, Jay says this for a reason, or he will, you know, respond a certain way to a reason. Like trust that and trust yourself.
No, yeah.
And I appreciate that a lot, bro.
I think that's something that I had to, it took a while for me to learn, is like to be confident in my abilities.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of creatives go through that struggle of like being confident in what they do and their abilities. And sometimes you just need someone around being like, no, dude, like that was gold. You know what I mean? And then, you know, you're able to sit with it and be like, you know what? Yeah, they're right. That is gold. Like, you know what I mean?
Thanks,
and so
man.
like, that's what I try to do with any artist that I'm working around, is I just, you know, again, I don't want to come around and be like, hey, I'm going to tell you what to do. Like, I just want to help you do what you would do the best that you can do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, and I've shared this with you too, and it's like, I'm very intentional with who I work with. You know, and like if we're working together, it's because I see something. It's because, you know, I believe in the sound. I believe in you as an artist. I see your dedication, you know, and so like, that's why when we're in the studios and you're like questioning something, sometimes I'm like, no, bro, like you trust me, like just trust me. It's it, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And thank you again for allowing me to do that.
Oh,
it's
man.
like, yeah, dude, that's fun for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's like fulfillment for me. Like that's where,
man.
Like, you know, you artists love putting out the music and getting it out to people, and that's where you find like, you know, your happiness. Right. Mine is like being in the studio and getting an artist to a place where they're like, bro, I fucking love what we created. You know what I mean? Like, no,
dude, that's really like what has been so amazing, even just throughout the last 6 months, is that's been so constant in working with you and Nick and James, Pliv, like, I mean, Suave, so many people that I've had the opportunity to work with since like you kind of unlocked this new side of my artistry from the moment we made Makin Love. That I was like, whoa, now I know that I can do this different thing. Yeah. And that it can go beyond just like the songs that I write with me here sitting on the couch with the guitar and all these things, which are like kind of all the records had gone that way before. And so to be able to be in that environment where we made what we did was so amazing. And that, I guess, is the perfect segue to go to the last record, which was the second one we made, with Little Things. Yeah. And that one, for me, it's got this just different emotional feel that I think is the perfect way to end this group of four. Okay. Because it has that, like, you know, it's still kind of smooth and suave, but it also is like, you know, kind of like, you know, just being super real with her, not trying to like be cool or whatever. Right. Like it's really genuine, you know. That's the word. It's genuine, and it's I think it's like, it's your personality, really. Yeah. It's a reflection of your personality. But I think the records before it is kind of like, it's really like playful. It's like the foreplay, really, you know what I mean? And then it's like, this last record is like the one where it's like, nah, like, I'm in love, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's genuine, like, you know what I mean? Exactly, man. And I had so much fun making that, and that was another one that started with just guitar. Yep. And I think that was really cool because I had that idea. We were kind of just, Jay was just honestly sitting there vibing, and I was just like playing different things, and he was kind of just, you know, like rocking with something that I was playing, and then I was like, as soon as I played these chords, he was like, yeah, those ones. And so then I just kept playing that. We mic'd it up, and I laid that down, and as soon as I did that, it was like you were saying earlier, like, okay, my job's done. in this song, as soon as I finished the guitar, I was like, okay, my job musically is done.
Yeah, I think you went to sit on the couch, and then I was like, let me take care of the drums now.
Yep.
And then you started writing, and then it was just another.
Yeah.
It's like every session that we've done, it's just one thing after another, and it just kind of flows. And
Exactly.
And I think subconsciously, I think you and I have kind of built that system and that workflow. Like that's just kind of like we know what to expect when we get in the studio.
Right.
Which is really dope.
Yeah, man, I love it. I'm very grateful for that. And I think that like, yeah, that you summed it up in such a beautiful way of just feeling genuine, but I think there's something too about the like, this song has, I think, more of a stark contrast in like how chill and kind of soft the vocals are.
Yeah.
With then, also this is the only record that has the drums come in delayed, where the whole first verse and pre-chorus, there's no drums.
Nothing, right.
And then all of a sudden you get in that first hook right on those oohs, and it's just a bow, and then it comes in full effect, and then just like through the second verse, we're kind of, you know, playing with them, boom, pulling back, here you go, and then it just like finishes that off. And to have the little moments like during the bridge where it just pulls back and it's just a kick and just a snap, and then it ends with everything all together. It's this really, again, like different elements that you might not put together in other songs that just worked so well as we got into it and started piecing all of the different parts together.
Yeah, man. I think it's a special record for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just how you explained it is, I think it sums up to, I think, dating and relationships, where it's like, it does start off as playful and fun, and then it gets a little serious, but it's still fun. And you know, there's moments that are a little bit more slower than others, and there's faster moments, you know what I mean? And yeah, man. Again, this is all stuff that we think about and we see musically. Other people are like, bro, it's a song, like, you know, like, you know what I mean? But it's like, you know, us as musicians and artists and producers, like, there's so much intentionality behind the music and the reason this is song number 4 or song number 3, you know, like, there's intentionality behind that, all that, and I don't think people see that or know that sometimes. And so it's really dope that we're sharing this, you know, because it's like it tells a story, you know, and it does. It's not just 4 songs that we made and decided to put in a playlist together, and like, no, like, there's intentionality between each song and how one song leads into another, and, and you know, and it's like that. Yeah, so, man. No, it's a beautiful thing, bro. My guy. Thank you so much, man. It's been beautiful, not only reflecting on the records and making them together, but seeing each other's development. I'm really proud of where we've been able to take these 4. I'm excited to, you know, share them with the world, and then to keep pushing each other to make other great things, man. I'm so stoked for what this year is going to be, and you know, we've expressed it a lot through this episode, but like the gratitude that we both have for like what this, you know, working relationship has turned into, but like more than anything, like the friendship that we've been able to make through something that we love so much in music, in creating together. So I just really appreciate you, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, like I've always told you, man, the number one thing for me is always the relationship. You know what I mean? That's what I value the most. And so like, I'm glad that we have not only gotten to make this music together, but also just the relationship that we formed, you know? I think it was like the 3rd session that we had together, we were already talking deep. Like, we were in deep conversations, talking about life. Dude. I remember we would stand out by your car for like 45 minutes. I'm getting texts like, when are you coming inside? Like, I'm like, oh, we're just talking, you know, like. Yeah, man. But yeah, and it's you know what I mean? It was just a relationship, and I could tell from the jump, like, he's a real dude, and you know, he's down to earth, and he's motivated, and so like, this is gonna be special. And it has been, man. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, man. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end up this first episode. I'm looking forward to sharing 12 more of these, one with every producer throughout the entire year. And Jay, once again, thanks again for kicking this off, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. You can find me everywhere. It's Djemini. Cortez _ on Instagram. Yes, indeed. And talk to you guys soon. Enjoy the records.